Hello, salut. I am the Rasta Witch. Here's where we learn the way of the Yan Sway Rasta, which is to say, my kind of Ital. Please subscribe and begin your own kind of Yan Sway witchcraft. All roads lead to Rome. Home. Okay, so this one is about the black presence in the Bible, the tribe of Judah. It becomes necessary because it gets brought up all the time in Rasta as you learn about the Rastas and listen to Bob's music and everything. So if you've been following along with this playlist, this video belongs to the playlist about early Rastafarian history. Up towards the beginning, I start the story out. Oh, sorry. Tiring day. Had a bunch of errands to run. I started out by talking about the transatlantic slave trade because to understand the early Rastas and to understand Jamaica, of course, that's where you would need to study. To understand black people's position, you would have to learn that. So, if you're going to go around calling yourself a Rasta, don't forget that, Rasta is all about trying to build up. Rasta is something that comes out of Marcus Garvey. It's something that's an effort to help black people out. So I'm obviously not a black person, but I'm a known Rasta, and I need to keep that into focus. I need to take care of myself too. I'm not a black person. I don't need to. Like I remember with like the the black, what's that called? The Black Lives Matter movement. With the black, I haven't heard him mentioned in so long. I forgot about him. The Black Lives Matter movement. Yeah, you might remember when that was this big explosion and there was all the riots and all that stuff was going on. There were a group of BLM, Black Lives Matter people. They were getting mad at white people saying you should give us your houses and all that. So that's life's not a contest. So like some people are like, oh hey, they can't say that, and I think they're wrong for doing that. That's not that's not gonna work. And people shouldn't have to give up their houses to black people. you know but the emotion and the feeling and the need. Black people were just totally screwed over by the days of slavery, and we benefited from it. We got to build. Today we're the richest, most powerful country, and we built it on the backs of slaves. And and they just all they got was just, okay, now that we've built it this far, we'll just let you guys go free and you get nothing. You're gonna have to start from scratch and get something for yourselves. It's a dog eat dog world, too bad. you know and so something that the Yan Sway Rasta tries to do is like I myself am a poor person. I've lived in low income housing. I've just lived just barely above, homeless, and just barely getting by. See, I'm tired from work, and everybody works, even rich people. But so like I don't have money to give, but there's a lot I can do still. If I ever do happen to make money for some reason, I like to think that I'd be interested in donating money to Ethiopia, maybe the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. You're like, oh, what? That's an organized religion. But the Ethiopian Orthodox Church is fantastic. It's who's in charge of the Ark of the Covenant, which is in Ethiopia. I'll leave a link in the description box about the Ark of the Covenant. It's in Ethiopia, the real Ark of the Covenant. and but people don't want to. That's basically that's what we can do. Like the Ark of the Covenant's a perfect example. There's still people going around saying the Ark of the Covenant might be over here. The Ark of the Covenant might be over here. Uh, Graham Hancock in his book The Sign and the Seal, and I read it. It's one of the thickest books I've ever read, and it goes along with the documentary. And he studies it very thorough, studies what everybody's saying, all the legends, and the history and the things that we do know, and actually physically went through those places and walked through there to see where, like what the places were like, where we know that it was, and blah, 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 and was able to piece it all together quite in a scholarly, real type of way. And the only place where it really is logical that it might be is in Ethiopia. The other ideas are just really like goofy, and for one thing, the Ark of the Covenant, it says in the Bible that the Ark of the Covenant would forever have priests of Aaron burning incense before it, and that that's so if it's locked away in some warehouse or in some cave or hidden somewhere, then basically Jah's a liar, because so basically the only logical place it could be is Ethiopia. But from a scripture, and we know the Bible is not the word of God and it's full of flaws and stuff, but for what it's worth, the context of the story, it would have to be in Ethiopia too, because it just disappears from the story. But there were promises made that the priests of Aaron, that with the Aaronic priesthood, the Aaronids, would be forever ministering before it and burning incense and praying, so that there's only one place it could be, and that's in Ethiopia. But the thing is, and there's other things about Ethiopia. Christianity was there before it was in Europe, but they have an older Bible. But when we study the Bible, how often do we talk about what the Ethiopian Bible says? But the Ethiopian Bible was written by hand too. It's just has all the same problems really as anyone else's Bible, but the difference is that it's separate by separate people and older, so it didn't have the same political needs and stuff. It was like grown in a different garden, so to speak, and so therefore it should be part of our biblical studies. Like, well, how come black people don't ever get the credit they deserve? Like black people are everywhere. Like no matter what area of expertise it is, some of them are black, and it's just always been like that. And black people did a lot of the things first, and black people invented a lot of the things, and they invented rock and roll, and some of the best musicians and best artists and comedians and actors and actresses, and like, and in spite of how horrible of a situation black people have been in, they've been hilarious. They're comedians, have been funny, and they're just so talented, and they're just like just such a fantastic people, such a beautiful people, just they just have such their muscle tone, and like what a bunch of good looking people as well, beautiful people, and we know that we all came from archaeology. We know we came from East Africa. And so basically, we all came from black people. If you go back far enough in white people's history, we were black once. We were all black people. Basically, black people are our great grandma and grandpas. So they're a part of us. They're our ancestry. You just have to go back really far. But and maybe I'll do another video on where, according to the context of the Bible, white people come from. It's not good. It's something I learned from Marcus Garvey, but then I researched it in more depth, and so like, so the tribe of Judah is where the king comes from. Genesis 49:10, I think it is. When Jacob blesses the tribe of Judah and blesses all his other sons, the 12 tribes of Israel, the king would always come from Judah. And that's why Jesus came from Judah, all the kings came from Judah, and Haile Selassie came from Judah. The reason these people come from Judah is because that's what they had that birthright, that the king would always come from there. So the first thing to bring up to not waste any time is just Jesus wasn't white. Let's not waste time on that. The people in that area were black and brown. So those are our choices: are black and brown, or super brown or super black. Or different shades of black and brown. Or those are our choices. Genesis, if you're saying, hey, I want to talk about the genealogies in the Bible. So Genesis chapter 10 is the book of generations. That's where it goes over that. So if the flood was a true story, and it wasn't, but according to the context, it was. Noah, everybody died to Noah. So after Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, like Bob Marley's song. Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And Ham is known to be the prophet. And so Genesis chapter 10 is about that. It starts out, it says, and these are the sons of Japheth. Blah, 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 blah. Japheth are the Spanish, the Greek, the Italians, the Native Americans, the Asians, up over the Bering Strait and all that. That's Japheth. The sons of Ham, and it goes into more detail about Ham. Almost the whole thing goes into extreme detail about the descendants of Ham. Ham are the black people, the Africans. And then just a little bit on Shem, a little bit, more, the least on Japheth, but then a lot on Shem too, just about as much as on Ham, So Shem are the brown people and Ham are the black people. Basically, Shem are the people of the Bible. But if you're trying to study Judah, and Judah owns the Bible and they're the king, the Bible was written at the king's request, that the priests take all their notes and compile everything together at the king's request. So the king is the owner of the Bible. So I'll try to just say this fast instead of just like read. I'd like to grab the Bible and just read it and read along and talk about it. But I have some notes here and I'll give references so I can make this fast. In Genesis chapter 38, so one thing you notice that, of the sons of Ham, a big one is Canaan. So the Canaanites and the land of Canaan. Canaan was a person. Canaan was a descendant of Ham. So Canaan and the Canaanites, these are black people. Okay, so they lived in when Judah was trying to make babies. It was when they lived in Canaan, and it sounds like to me like he liked black women, and he first in Genesis chapter 38 he his first wife was Shua, and she was a Canaanite. She was a black woman. Okay. So that and you'll notice like later, so Judah always has this tendency to go south and go into the black. So at one point there's the kingdom of the king of Judah, Israel, was the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The southern kingdom was the tribe of Judah, which was the largest tribe, and then in between them was Jerusalem, where the king lived. And then the northern kingdom was like all the other ones, There was another tribe that lived with Judah, but that's just kind of simplified. Judah was the southern kingdom, and then the northern kingdom, and they're both about the same size, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. But you learn with the story of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba that the southern border of Judah goes all the way down into Ethiopia. So it's like, all the way down into Ethiopia, the Horn of Africa and East Africa, and that whole area, and every time Judah, this and that, he always goes south, and his descendants always go south and have a tendency to go south, and it's the southern kingdom, and it sounds like they were the darker skin of the ones. You just have to kind of keep your eyes open. One thing, like when I read the Bible, I was kind of especially looking out for anything that had to do with LGBT issues, and I have read the Bible all the way through and in much detail. Have you seen my Bible? Like I have notes all over the place. I've had many Bibles. I speak Spanish too, So my Spanish Bible has notes. I've studied it in Spanish and English a lot. Because sometimes I like the Spanish Bible better, and some of my better notes are in the Spanish Bible at times. And and also the question of Judah, because I've been a Rasta for pretty much my whole adult life, so I'm trying to make sense of all this, and I just keep noticing, and nobody else, like, anytime you're noticing something about black people, you're on your own, kind of, because black people just don't get any credit. You have to have some initiative, and you have to really notice things all by yourself. No one's going to point it out, But I noticed by myself that there's, how come always the South? How come always going into the South? How come always running off into the South? Because that's where the other black people live, So, and then with Judah, he just seemed to like black women. Shua was a Canaanite, So and Shua had, with Judah, Judah, with Shua had 3 sons, Onan, and Shelah. This is again Genesis 38. But was killed because he wasn't a good person, and Onan, none of them really had any babies and were worth anything. It doesn't. So the Bible doesn't follow that genealogy. But then Judah found a woman named Tamar, and again they're in. This is in Canaan. So he found another woman, and I think he liked dark women, like I say. You just have to read it yourself. So he probably picked a dark woman, but I can't find any real concrete evidence. Tamar, if you ask the Bible who is Tamar, it's the woman that Judah made babies with. But she was supposed to be the woman that Onan, his sons Onan and Shelah made babies. No, Onan first, and then Onan died, and I'm sorry. He gave it to but then Erlin, like I said, died because he wasn't a good person. The Lord killed him, and then Onan died too, and then Shelah was too young, and so Judah said, "Hey, Tamar, why don't you hang out, and when Shelah's old enough, you can make babies with him, And then Tamar ended up dressing up like a harlot, according to Judah. And then Judah saw her and liked her, probably because she was black, and Tamar tricked him and got pregnant. They had sex, and and blah blah blah. You'll just have to read it yourself. But anyway, Judah through Tamar ended up having 2 sons, Pharez and Zerah. Okay, so you can read in more detail in Genesis 46:12 about that. And also in Numbers 26:19 through 22. And I didn't write that down. And First Chronicles. Numbers chapters. So like Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. The book of Numbers. Maybe I don't know if that's why it's called Numbers, but the first chapter, it numbers. And this tribe had this many people, and this tribe had this many people. It numbers how many people are in every tribe, and it goes into an even more detailed account of Judah and where it goes. But the genealogy that's followed with Judah is through Tamar. They had the 2 sons, Pharez and Zerah, but it follows Pharez anytime, and Pharez had 2 sons, Hezron and Hamul, and then made the Hezronites and the Hamulites. And if you study the Hezronites and the Hamulites, they're just the descendants of Judah, where they end up. And so, but always when you follow these people, always with the southern kingdom, and always this tendency to go south and all the time. And when Judah picked Tamar, the things we know is Shua was an Adulamite from Hira. And Timnath, Timnath is where Tamar tricked Judah, and those are all places in Canaan, So every known name, when you study the known name or the known place, it's always a Canaanite or in Canaan, and that's black people. So I think, like Bob says, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and Ham is known to be the prophet. I once read a book called The Black Presence in the Bible, Volume 1 and Volume 2, and it goes over the this very information I'm talking about. Um, and it goes over how the connections of Judah and Ham, and that you have to really just look at the people themselves and study who those people were. And sometimes you don't know who the people were, but you know who the neighboring people were, and it just kind of gets rolled up in, and it's always getting, like I said, even no matter how you're looking at it, it keeps getting rolled up into black directions, you know. Um, so the it sounds like to me like how the book The Black Presence in the Bible, how it ends in volume 2 is it says, look, it's just as good of an argument that the tribe of Judah is a brown people as it is a black people, you know. One thing I like to think of is that Jesus was from the Essenes, and the Essenes were like poorer, and I think they were a darker skinned people too. You know, I just think that the darker skinned people were and then this is true in Africa. It's just where there's brown and black people, the blacker skinned people can be the lower class people, you know. And the Essene Jews that Jesus was from were such a people, and Judah, the tribe of Judah, wasn't. But if you look at, like in Matthew chapter 1, when it goes over the genealogy of Joseph, which is supposedly isn't Jesus's dad, strangely enough, it follows the tribe of Judah through Phares and through his son Hezron, and it goes that direction. In my book, The Keber Nagas, which goes over Haile Selassie, so remember, Haile Selassie is also from the tribe of Judah. You know, Haile Selassie is related to Jesus. And so this is a book about Haile Selassie, and it has a little ancestral family tree right here. If you look right here, see it says, right here it says Esau, Leah, there's Judah, and see that the branch goes here to Phares. See? So that branch, Phares to Jesse, and then to King David, you know? And that's what they all do, you know? When someone tries to prove whether it's the royal family of Ethiopia, the line of kings, not just Haile Selassie, the royal family, they're from Judah, or just Jesus's royal family, or, you know, that's the ones that they talk about, you know, and that's where Phares comes from, and that's where, you know, that's the tribe of Judah, you know, that's who they are in that. So basically, like, I think I agree with the Black Presence in the Bible, Volume 2, you know. It's just a, you know, arguing that Jesus was white is the worst argument. Arguing that Jesus was brown or black, it's you know, those are the only things that he might have been. And so if you say that Jesus is black, there's, you know, he might have been for all the reasons I just said. Or if you say he's brown, say, no, actually, I think they were probably, since they were kings, they were maybe a lighter skinned people, and maybe you're right. You know, I don't know if we can prove that. There are nowadays a lot of videos on it, and they seem to pull it a lighter skin direction. But like I said, that's the way the world is we live in, you know. I'd recently heard a Rasta say, you know, that's not, you know, Rastas can take that. He's kind of lecturing other Rastas, saying, you guys quit making such a big deal about Jesus being black, you know. That's not the point. The point is not to be racist and to not, you know, Jesus and Selassie said, until the color of a man's skin is no more significance than the color of his eyes, like Bob's Long War, where he's quoting Selassie. You know, like the whole point of Haile Selassie's message is to not be. Haile Selassie said, yes, I'm from the tribe of Judah, I'm the Lion of Judah, but he didn't go on and on and on. Look how much better I am because I'm black. He did. But when he talked about race, he talked about the human family, and when he did talk about black people and said, you know, hey, black people, we're all related. You know, take pride in that. And you know, he was a comforter and a builder. Like when he started that, was the president of the OAU, the Organization of African Unity. They made him president because he was the peacekeeper of the group. You know. And we need to be a peacekeeper of the group too, and a peacekeeper of the question too. So that's why I have these pictures that I keep showing you on this video of Jesus being black. And of Haile Selassie. When you look, I remember once when I first was Rasta, I had a picture of Haile Selassie, his coronation picture, and a little girl said, "How come you have a picture of Jesus over there?" You know, and I think sometimes kids sum it up the best. She's right. Oh, look, I just made a huge 25-minute video, and she in one sentence, enough said. The kid said, thought that Haile Selassie was Jesus. I think so. I think the real Jesus would have looked like Haile Selassie with Bob Marley's dreadlocks. If you can picture Haile Selassie with Bob Marley's dreadlocks smoking a spleef, that's probably about exact, because the royal family of Judah, they're related. They're from the tribe of Judah. They're from the Middle East, and so and you can see that in like their longer nose. They're kind of like beadier eyes and the longer nose. That's that tribe of Judah look, you know, and and um and then the history itself. They're part Cushite, and Cush is one of the sons of Ham. And again, see, and that's just like on and that's the way it is. You know, Judah, you know, just like Haile Selassie is part from Shem and part from Ham, that just is the tendency with Judah. And but I think that like the Jews say, hey, we're from the tribe of Judah. Jew it means from the tribe of Judah, you know. And there's people up in Europe, we're from the tribe of Judah. I think that everybody's probably right. I think that Judah, with time, there's the royal family of England, the Queen Elizabeth, and I'll make a video on that, is from the tribe of Judah, and you can see they have like the beady eyes and the longer nose. You can see it, you know, and the tribe of Judah is everywhere, including in Ethiopia. But Haile Selassie is probably the best example of what Jesus would have looked like, you know. Not that it really matters, but that's basically the basic information, you know, on that subject that comes up so often in Rasta.